I'm Lex Thomas, and this is not CNN. I grew a beard. Hey guys, and welcome to the show. I'm very excited about the show today because we're going to talk about Windows Server 2016 and some really cool credential theft mitigation stuff that we've added in. I'm going to welcome back a good friend and somebody that I've worked with for a long time at Microsoft and previous Taste of Premier guest, Brantley Whitley. Brantley, say hi.
Hi, Lex. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, anytime. You know that. We're just lucky to have you.
It's good to be here. Thank you so much.
Yep. So some cool stuff coming down the pike for 2016.
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. 2016 is going to release, I think, this month at Ignite. So there's some pretty cool stuff from being a directory services guy. That's the area that I like to keep up on and sort of stay abreast of. So there's 3 features we really like to highlight today for you if we can. And those pertain to credential protection, credential theft mitigation, really just trying to keep those secrets that are an Active Directory secret. So we're trying to protect our customers and really good features that complement a lot of other ones that have came out in prior operating systems. So if you want to dive in, I'll jump on the first one if you want to. You ready?
Yeah, I just need to say one thing. I'm really impressed with some of the stuff that we've done from a security standpoint. So far, it looks like 2016 is really on track to be incredibly secure.
I agree, and this is just barely scratching the surface on these 3, but yeah, absolutely from a domain controller perspective and even the shielded VMs, and I've been seeing a lot of traffic on the blogs, emails, and a lot of great news coming out of the product teams for the security features in 2016 around Hyper-V as well as directory services. So exciting times. Very good stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, let's dig in.
Yeah. So the first feature that I wanted to talk about was the SmartCard only for the SmartCard only checkbox for users to require SmartCard for interactive logon, and we know that that's a great thing. 2-factor authentication is awesome. We highly recommend that. There's a caveat on how your password that's generated from the machine when you check that box is a bit of a static password. So once that checkbox is set for a user, it's great that they're using 2-factor auth. Some of the challenges that are presented with that is that it's hard to identify those user accounts that could be considered stale because the password really never changes at that point. And we've had some scripts in the past, the field and engineers in the field and several offerings that we have would reset that password or change it. So essentially unchecking and rechecking the box would generate another complex password, and then we could report on that. So we could identify which accounts would be stale and which ones aren't. But the caveats with that are it breaks secure channel when that happens, so you'd need to lock and unlock the machine or log off, log back on, so it could cause some access denied issues if users had that happen to their account in the middle of the day. So it's a scheduled task. It can cause some negative impact from a usability perspective. And since it's a scheduled task, it needs to run as another user, and it also is typically targeting a set of users, so you really don't know if a user is using their SmartCard or not, if that makes sense. So you're just having to target a set of user accounts. The cool thing in 2016 is at user logon, we're going to adhere to the password policy. So when you put your SmartCard in, you put a PIN in, when it goes to look to authenticate to the domain controller, the KDC is going to look and say, well, this user's TGT expire prior to the password policy, looking at the last time the password policy was set. And if so, we're going to go ahead and use the mechanisms already built into the KDC for Windows to reset that user's password, so we get a true sense of this account is in fact being used, and we're not just targeting it with a script and someone forgot to take Bob's account out of the script target because Bob's left 6 months ago. So we'll get a real true sense of, is this user actually using that, or someone is using the SmartCard, because the password age will now get sort of organically managed as they use the SmartCard and actually authenticate. So that's a really good feature. I think it'll be beneficial to customers. It's going to be built in. We can avoid some of those caveats and make it more supportable than some of the scripting techniques that have been used as a workaround to that problem that we have been using recently.
Yeah, my customer does that. They use smart cards to log in. It's actually mandated. So it sounds like something that they would really get a lot out of.
Absolutely, and one other piece of that, and I've heard questions around this, granular policies. So the fine-grained password policies will also work with this feature. So if you have a user or an OU or a targeted user group that have privileged credentials, you could increase the frequency in which their NTLM hash or the hash of their account, their secrets, would be getting changed more frequently than maybe your common user base. So that's really what most customers that I've worked with have really targeted, maybe a nightly or every other night script that would change those so that their secrets are changing more frequently than others. And we've covered some of the challenges in identifying stale accounts. So this is going to be a good thing. I'm excited. It does require 2016 domain functional level. So that's one thing that when we target a DC or when we go to do DC discovery from a client, we just want a consistent experience. So I think everybody could understand that if you hit a 2012 R2 DC and it doesn't have this functionality in it, so your account gets in this weird state, to have a consistent experience, it's going to require all the DCs be 2016. So toggle that switch, bump the domain functional level up, and that there's a checkbox actually in the Active Directory administrative console that we'll get a capture of that in this presentation, where you go in and set it on the domain. So you just right-click the domain properties, and there's a checkbox there that you can set once the domain has been upgraded. Most customers do upgrade, so if you do a straight domain, it'll be checked by default. If you promote a new domain, New Forest, and you set the domain and forest functional levels to 2016 in the promotion, you'll get that enabled there. But otherwise, most customers upgrade, so we wouldn't turn it on by default. You'd have to check that box. So we can get that in the slide, just as a quick screenshot of that in the slide. So folks can find it, know where to go and check that box once they get there.
Awesome. So what about number 2?
Number 2 is we're going to allow NTLM authentication for authentication policies and silos. One of the things that 2012 R2 introduced was we wanted to be able to restrict users that log on and where they're logging on from. So we wanted, for example, privileged accounts, we wanted them to only be able to log in from maybe highly secure workstations or servers, so that we have, I know we have an offering where we can help customers build a privileged access workstation. So you may want to set up an authentication silo saying that all of my domain admins or enterprise admins have been issued a set of machines and they need to meet this criteria. And it was a really good feature, a lot of hard work in that. The caveat was a lot of the admin tools still require NTLM. And that authentication policies and silos require Kerberos pretty much all the way around for it to function. So it was a little bit of a non-starter for some customers because of that dependency, and all of your tools and all of the servers you're going to target would need to support Kerberos authentication. So it wasn't as flexible as some customers needed it to be, so didn't get adopted quite as much as we had hoped. So the one thing that we do recommend, though, is you enable Credential Guard, which we've talked before in the past on Windows 10. You have the capability of hardening the secrets by a hypervisor so that you do have those secrets protected. So because we're going to allow NTLM, that layered approach, we're still going to want to do Credential Guard to mitigate having the NTLM credentials compromised. So that's a strong recommendation from the product team if you're going to enable this feature. But I think it will loosen it up enough where it's feasible for customers to deploy. It still protects accounts, and we can still control where users are logging on and get a good sense of credentials being usable. And that was one of the themes that I've heard over and over, which is a really good theme. For credentials to be used, they have to be extractable. For credential theft to happen, they would need to be extractable and usable. And if they're not usable everywhere, that really shuts off a lot of gates. And this is one of those layered approaches to helping combat that, so that specific credentials would only be allowed use in certain areas of your environment, certain areas of the domain, or they should only be authenticating from certain devices. So that's a great added feature to 2016. And any questions on that one, Lex?
No, that does sound pretty neat, though. I think it solves a lot of issues that customers are running into currently.
Yeah. And then, so the third and final feature was the PK init freshness extension. This is a very odd, very specific use case sort of attack that it's not a real common one, but there's scenarios where if someone were to get your smart card, and PKInit is the extension for Kerberos for us to be able to use smart cards to log on and get a ticket. Few very specific attacks where you could pre-generate authenticators if someone were to get your smart card. They'd have to be pre-generated for a specific time and date. We've got that plus or 5 minutes for Kerberos authentication, from a time skew perspective. So it's very, very specific and very, very targeted. But the product team...
They would have to have physical access to your hard card.
Yes, absolutely. Or your keys, be it your virtual smart card or your smart card, your regular user smart card. So they'd have to have access to your certificates.
So do you know how that works? Do they grab the cert off the smart card and then generate something with that cert?
I haven't dug in deep enough to know the specifics around that. So I'd have to do a little more research to understand.
No worries, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
But the interesting thing is the new feature, 2016, it has 3 toggle switches, which is typical for most settings. We can turn it on where you must always use it. We need to validate you have your smart card, and it. I don't have all the detailed technical specifics about how it works, but it doesn't require a full round-trip authentication again. But there's some validation changes in how the protocol is going to work to just ensure when you toggle the switch to always require, to ensure that you do have your smart card and that you've authenticated with your smart card, you have it, and you have a valid PIN, and you are who you say you are. So it mitigates that. There's another one, always use it when you can. So if there's scenarios when in a customer's environment that they may not be able to use that specific use case, we'll give it the best effort. We're going to try, and then obviously to turn it off. It's turned off by default. But it's a KDC policy, and it's got those 3 toggles. And the neat thing is we got 4 new SIDs that you'll notice when you get a 2016 domain. And those 4 new SIDs can be injected into your token when that is used. So then we can control things like access controls, kind of like dynamic access control, where we can look at specifics. So if you want to generate an access control on an object or a server or some resource, we can ensure that, they were able to authenticate and validate their PKI PKInit freshness. That's already been validated because those SIDs are in this user's token. So it's another level of authentication assurance that it's not something that is spoofing the user's credentials on the wire. So it's another great layered approach. I think we probably will see those new SIDs be used in other areas, so we can continue to layer on that, and they complement all the things that we're already doing from the credential theft mitigation perspective. So that's the 3 that I had today. Exciting stuff. I think the product team's doing a great job. They're doing a great job listening to the field and understanding a lot of the concerns, and they seem to be really attacking these issues aggressively and turning out a great product, in my opinion.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like this is really cool. Hey, do me a favor. Step to the left a little bit.
To the left?
Yeah. Is that the 15-year I see back there?
Oh, that's 10.
Oh, is 10. It 10?
Yeah, that's the 10. I got a 5 and a 10.
When do you get the 15?
Oh, December will be 11.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm a good ways from the 15. I'll have 11 years in December.
Yeah. Did you see the 25 at MyCube?
I did, man. That thing's a beast.
That thing's like
It's
the
awesome.
Stanley Cup.
Yes, it is awesome. Came with its own suitcase.
It did. It came with a road case.
Yeah, man, that's impressive. Congratulations.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. It's certainly a lot of fun. It's not really a job. It's Microsoft.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm jealous. I'm jealous, man. You've got a rich, good, awesome, set of experiences here. I mean, it's second to none. I mean, you've definitely seen a lot, done a lot. I definitely admire where you've been. That's good stuff.
oh yeah. Well, look, man, it's certainly a lot of fun. I'm actually going to do a kind of I'm testing out an offering that I'm working on, a network assessment for customers before they go to Office 365.
Oh, wow.
So I'll be doing that next week, and we'll see how that works out. But
Yeah.
I think one of our next shows, it's either going to be the next one or the one after that. I'm really going to, I want to dig deep into networking and do here's how network hardware works. We'll talk about switches and routers, and we'll talk about how net cards actually work and how they figure out where to move traffic. Just kind of a networking 101 for customers that, maybe clears up a little bit of fog that they have to think through.
Mm-hmm.
So that's coming up. I'm not sure if it'll be the next one or the one after that, but that's coming up.
That's going to be good. I can't wait to watch that one.
Yeah. So, hey, also, I need you to do some more of these for us. You've definitely got a lot of 2016 knowledge. It'd be cool to have you come talk about Windows 10 or Windows 2016 again. So when can we sign you up? Not to put you on the spot in front of 20,000 viewers, but
yeah. I tell you what, if let's shoot for, this is September. If we could shoot for maybe late October, that would work out great. I've got a few on-site trips, customers to take the 1st of October. But yeah, I'd be happy to come back maybe the end of October and do another.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. We're going to have Brantley back talking about more Windows 10/Windows 2016 stuff later. So, man, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me. Absolutely. It's always a pleasure hanging out.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to, I'll be back in the office, not next week, but the following week. So if you're coming back into the office, maybe we can sync up.
Sounds great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. All right, guys. Without further ado, that's your taste of Premiere.